Welcome back, live from Just King's World on my hip hop ish. We present to you Dope Read. Dope Read is a collection of books that we're reading, mostly from the hip hop community starting off. Right now, we are tapped into 2 Chainz' book, which is called The Voice in My Head is God. These books is meant to elevate thought, elevate your mind, and elevate yourself to the next higher self that you can possibly be. Right now, we are on chapter 11. Chapter 11 is called 5540 Old National. Me and my dog Dollar have been doing this rap thing for a while. Around the mid-2000s, we started taking it seriously. And around the time we got the Def Jam Disturbing the Peace deal under our names Playaz Circle. While we were grateful to have the record deal at the particular time, we had to ask somebody at the label for studio time. We couldn't just record whenever we wanted to. It could never be a sporadic or spontaneous. We would need to pre-plan. This is very difficult for artists because sometimes you never know when the creative bug might bite and you need to run to the studio to lay down an idea. That really affected our ability to work toward being great. If you want to be great at anything, you need to put in the work. You need to be able to work at whenever you need to. Malcolm Gladwell talked about the 10,000 hour rule in his book Outliers. That's a book we're going to read that. He basically says that 10,000 hours of practice at something is the magic number before you become great at it. The word practice is important because spectators might celebrate a great stage show or a great athletic performance, but not consider how many hours of practice went into it. How you practice becomes a part of your work ethic. Kobe Bryant is maybe my favorite basketball player ever. In fact, I got 24 on my knees after his passing to honor him. Rest in peace, Kobe. There are so many amazing Kobe stories about his work ethic and how he approached practice. Byron Scott, his former teammate and coach, said he found Kobe as an 18-year-old rookie shooting in the dark 2 hours before practice had even started. One of my favorite stories is from Shaq, who said in his book, Shaq Uncut, Kobe used to practice without a ball. You walk in there, he'll be cutting and grunting and motioning like he was dribbling and shooting, except there was no ball. I thought it was weird, but I'm pretty sure it helped him. Motivational speaker Dr. Eric Thomas once said, you can't control how long I practice, encouraging people to control what they can. Controlling what we could was me and Dollars thinking when we decided to invest in our own studio. At that time, we were still trapping, still in the streets. We found a location on Old National, 5540 Old National. Let me back up. It was actually Dollar's idea to get the studio. He was like, we need a spot. We need our own spot. He actually found a spot. And when he did, he hit me like, Tit, I got us a spot. It was behind this Jamaican restaurant, an African store, and a barbershop. It was right next to Skate Town's roller rink. I know exactly where that's at. I remember going over there and checking the spot out. I think Dollar already had a discussion with the owners or whatever because we were able to just put our coins together and get the spot relatively quickly. It was a night in either late November or December when we closed on our spot. I remember it being real cold outside. The space was freezing. The same night we went to Walmart, got these little space heaters, plugged them, trying to warm the spot up. We sat inside there in the cold. We didn't have any furniture yet. We actually sat on pallets and bricks and just smoked. We were just smiling at each other on some this is ours type shit. There was no TV. There wasn't even any electricity, which makes me wonder how we got these heaters to work. Propane, that's right. I remember now. We used propane tanks. Over time, we built 5540 out. We slowly worked on getting the space together. It soon became a place where all the hustlers came together to kick it. But it was a studio at the same time. It became one of those spots that the whole city pulled up on. Gangsters, street niggas, chicks, hustlers, everybody. We was doing it. I pushed bags and Dollar had his own hustle going on. A couple of niggas sold drink and lean. Other niggas sold bricks, zips, and everything else. We were all electric with the hustling. To get to 5540, you would turn off the main road and ride straight to the back. That's where we was at. We installed surveillance so we could see people coming before they got there. We had a system on the door that allowed us to buzz you in from the surveillance TV. We looked at the TV, see who it was, and then buzz you in if everything was cool. We had this big metal door, a kind of security door. When you first came into 5540, you walked into the area that looked like a little office setup. It had a desk, a little computer, but really was just a place where people jug. When you went through the first set of glass doors, double doors, there was a pool table. We had the pool table in the middle of the floor. All hustlers had a pool table in their spot. It was where everybody congregated by the pool table. You shoot dice, shoot pool, put your cup or drink on the table, on the pool table, sit on the pool table and watch ESPN. It was actually a glorified piece of furniture. And we were so ghetto at the time that we painted the pool room red and green, like the Gucci colors. It was our Gucci room. We did have a sofa in there too, but nobody really sat on it. If you kept straight ahead and exited the Gucci room, you find two other little rooms. A small room where I hung a bunch of my pop's old albums in a kitchen. The album room was like a little vibe room. There was also a barber chair in there so that everybody could keep fresh. In the kitchen, we had a little nice setup. I remember we would have plenty of good food cooking in there. The boy Dollar loved to cook. So we have everything from seafood boils to soul food. Just a little bit of everything to keep us fueled up. We also had niggas who would come over to drop off re-rock, some work right quick. Let's just say it was an all-purpose kitchen. After you maneuver past the kitchen, you make a right and there was the hallway. To the left was a bathroom, not big enough for anybody to barely do anything. It was like an airplane bathroom, a very tiny lavatory. To the right, there was a larger studio, and inside the studio was a very small makeshift studio. I had a lifting bench in there, a pull-up bar, and a dip bar. The same stuff I have in my studio today. Enough to keep me fit, keep my mind working, and keep me juiced up. This was 5540, my first studio, where all the magic happened. Me and Dollar made some classic records there, but for years I remember kind of being 1 foot in and 1 foot out, trapping today, rapping tomorrow. After getting out of our deal with Def Jam and becoming a solo act, I went on the road with Lil Wayne. I want to say this was around 2007, 2008. I was on tour with Lil Wayne. I had the opportunity to see how he actually moved. I saw what he did before a show, during, and after. I started to realize that regardless of how much money I assumed he had, this was how he moved every day. Like he was broke, like it was a job, like he needed to work to keep the lights on. Wayne would work all through the night. He had no set time for punching in or punching out. He also didn't approach his craft like a 40-hour work week. He worked whenever he wasn't catching a nap. After being on the road with Wayne, something told me I had to step up my discipline. I remember thinking to myself, yeah, we got the studio, we got 5540, but I'm not rapping every day. I'm still trying to hustle. I'm still trying to do both. I got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I need to be truer to the game, truer to rap. There's a saying in most hoods, if you're true to the game will be true to you. I needed to start putting in more hours. When I left the tour with Wayne and came back to the trap, I had quit selling bags cold turkey. Niggas was asking me for bags because I always had them. I had to keep telling them, shit, bro, I don't do that no more. And they were tripping like, man, come on with the bullshit. Let me get one of them bags. I just kept telling people the same thing. I don't do that no more. People thought I was flexing. They thought I was capping, lying. Man, come on. You can't just quit cold turkey. I had to tell them I was serious. There was no way I could reach my level of superstardom I wanted to and still trap. Something told me, put the bags down. A voice told me, it's time to focus on this. I got something better for you. Now, I should mention, when I retired from the trap game, I had over $500,000. You dig what I'm saying? I was a trapper who really made my way and had it my way. And I believe anybody selling weed should eventually be a millionaire. A lot of people trap, but I just believe that if you're a real hustler, then you should get some millions off of it. The trap game had been good to me. There wasn't a need to keep going. I had been blessed up to that point. I remember considering asking my pops to help me bury the money, but something told me at the time not to mention it to him. My pops was a hell of a nigga, and I sure do miss him. More than figuring out where to stash the money, I realized I had a bigger problem, the company I was keeping. I was still hanging around people who trap. They were my friends, my guys I went to high school with some of them in the whole nine. The cliche of how the company you keep can ultimately determine how successful you are at the same as something is true. Man, in high school, when I wanted to elevate my trap game, I surrounded myself with hardcore trappers. That worked for me back then. But once I wanted to elevate my rap career, I knew I had to surround myself with some more determined artists and musicians. I had to surround myself with people who were serious about their craft, people who work on music and visuals like their lives depended on it. There were also some events that happened that made me start to think that maybe I needed to separate myself and find a different studio, one that was solely my own. Even though I didn't want to do it, I had always been somewhere who's up at all times of the night. But when I came back from the tour, I made it a point to go to the studio at night, to work at night. I wouldn't normally go in the daytime. I just sit in the house all day. But as soon as it got dark, I pop out and leave the house around 10:17 p.m. I remember that time because it was Gucci Mane's record company's name. Shout out to Gucci, who was and still is like a cousin to me. I would go to work at 10:17 every night, and most of the time the guys that trap would be gone by then. They almost had a cutoff period, almost like they were clocking out. I was beginning to move out of the clocking out mentality. Plus, with me cleaning myself up, there wasn't a time that I needed to get back outside and get to trapping. I stopped trapping, so I wasn't missing any money associated with it. Everybody knew how I was beginning to work. The engineer working with me knew it. We get to working, pull up a beat, and that's when I get to being creative. That started happening, and then all of a sudden, at me and Dallas Place, the light bill had got behind like $3,000 or $4,000. I had heard about it through the grapevine. I heard the light bill was behind, and that some of the guys thought that because I was on the road doing independent shows that I would pay for it. I remember thinking, y'all niggas selling bricks and bags. What y'all think I'm supposed to do? I ain't nobody daddy around here. That gave me the itch to look for my own studio. I felt like I had outgrown the situation, but I did stay down for a few months. I remember Georgia Power came through. They came and took meter readings, threatening to turn my power off. The crazy thing was that we had a Jay working with us, Jay Black. Jay Black could get the lights turned back on no matter who turned them off. Jay Black would go get another fucking meter, and boom, the power would be back on. At the same time, we were really doing illegal activities, and I was trying to break out and be the artist. I didn't need any negative attention, but I also didn't need anybody thinking I couldn't pay my light bill. I was thinking, I'm popping and talking all this shit, and folks might be running around here saying I can't pay my light bill. I don't need that. The next thing you know, Georgia Power was willing to work something out with us because the light bill had reached $8,000. They wanted $4,000 immediately and $4,000 on a payment plan. I said to myself, you know what? I might have to get the fuck up out of here, man. I ended up getting a new studio, my own, but continued running into the same circles. One of my people found me another studio spot toward downtown. It was kind of like a loft, but I was able to make the best of it. Maybe the first week after I moved out of 5540 and let my guys keep it, it got shot up. I hadn't even had a new place for a week. Didn't even have it up yet. I never forget. Soon after I got the new place, the Cleveland Cavaliers came to town shortly after Bron had returned to Cleveland. Me being the basketball fan I am, and knowing that Bron and Kyrie would be in town, I had to pull up to the game. I've been sitting courtside at the Hawks games forever. Anyways, I wasn't in my seat for 30 minutes before I got a call. Shouty, somebody just shot up the studio. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Wait, what? What happened? 5540? Somebody shot that motherfucker up. I was speechless. Today, I still don't know what really transpired at the studio because I wasn't there. Somebody did lose their life that night, and the studio was infiltrated with bullet holes. Rest in peace. I'm not saying that my intuition or my voice told me to attend the game that night. It could have just been me being a basketball fan. But I was at the game when the incident occurred. It was probably around 8 or 9 o'clock. I can't say I would have been at the studio when everything went down, but after the incident, my inner voice grew louder. Even though I had the new studio, something still didn't feel right about how I was moving. In the luck factor, Wiseman said that about trusting our gut feelings when something doesn't feel right. Deep down, they know that something is wrong, and often this rather odd feeling emerges as a kind of intuition, an inner voice or gut feeling telling them that they are kidding themselves. Some people listen to the inner voice and others choose to continue with the wishful thinking and self-denial. I was gassing myself thinking I could change studio locations, but not the particulars of how I was moving. People do this a lot. We might change cities and think that'll fix everything, or we'll get a new job and think that's the fix. Then we get confused when those changes don't change our outcomes or the outcomes of people close to us. I started to realize that the most important proximity change I needed to make was my own closeness to my intuition. I needed to be more tuned and tapped into my inner voice and my inner self. After the incident, something told me it was time to completely go to another level. It was time to completely move on. That would keep my dedication and work ethic headed in the right direction. I didn't need to be across the street or around the corner for my intuition. I needed to be right inside the thing. That would be the only way for me to reach the full potential of what God had intended for me to become. And it's so unfortunate that one of my homies passed away. I still remember the good about 5540 Old National, that energy. A lot of hits were made there. A lot of heads were busted in there. A lot of people passed out in there. A lot of good gambling went down in there. A lot of good memories were made. A lot of the homies not with us anymore. A lot of them still are. But that's 5540 Old National, my first studio. It built resilience. It built toughness. It built some players. That's the end of chapter 11. That chapter right there, you could tell that was the moment that 2 Chainz had to really take his foot out of the street and put it right where he needed to be. You can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out in order to be successful. You got to have 2 feet planted. You got to have 10 toes down completely. You got to be dedicated to this. If you really want to do something, you got to go all out. Talking about practice, you got to practice every day. It ain't just about the showtime. It's about what you put in is what you're going to get out. Understand that? Let us know what you think about this chapter. Leave your fires and all your comments down below. We off to the next one.